and depending on editing, that's probably the fourth time you've heard me say that.
How can a conversation about how someone's religion, spirituality, faith, how it influences how they show up, how can that be had?
And there were differences, but actually the power of that conversation of like, actually we've got this relationship, let's explore this, was massive.
And often I think religion and spirituality, they kind of get conflated, but for me they are quite distinct.
Did you just shattered the illusion?
Sorry.
It's May.
Hello and welcome to the Social Matters podcast. We are three social workers talking about social matters, and depending on editing, that's probably the fourth time you've heard me say that. Welcome. How are you doing, team?
You know what? This is afternoon recording
yes,
vibes
I know,
again.
there's a theme. We can't do
not
it.
good in
We're
the
not,
afternoon.
okay, all right, noted. Anywho, how are we doing? It's Christmas, hence my Christmas jumper.
Hence my
Christmas
black
jumper.
hoodie. Yeah, I didn't get the memo, but you look amazing.
Oh, thank
you,
Beautiful
sis.
jumper, earrings, and Eugene's got his cottage cheese shirt.
That Christmas dish. No, because I think you mentioned briefly was yesterday or a couple of days ago that about Christmas jumpers, but I don't
Yeah.
think we landed on anything.
Sorry.
And I was it's not. No, you showed up. But when I came out the when I came out the house, I was just like, let me just get something that is white because then that is representing snow or whatever.
Oh, okay.
So that's my Christmas jumper. What about you, Fred? What was your mind?
Just anything that was there.
Yeah.
I'd already done some painting this morning, and this was my painting outfit. So I
you
just
smashed
left
it.
the house. Paint ready.
Yeah.
I might have a bit of paint on it actually, so yeah.
Also, this is
Apologies.
before Christmas, so it's not really Christmas isn't really in the forefront of my head. When does Christmas
You've
start?
just shattered
Sorry.
the illusion.
Sorry.
It's May.
And we're out here in winter.
I was like, you're doing so well. Oh, we've just broken all listeners' trust.
yeah, that thing we record live.
Yeah.
What was you going to say?
Because you mentioned yesterday that your tree's already up. So I was like, we probably have talked about this in many Christmas episodes that we've done in the past, but I can't remember.
Yeah.
But what's a good time to put your tree up?
The
if you
1st of
could?
December.
Yeah.
Anything before that,
concur.
it's offensive.
I never said before.
Okay.
Yeah.
But there was something I don't know whether it's a fact or whatever, but in my family, when we were younger at my mum's house, we always used to put it up 12 days before Christmas.
Oh.
And
Yeah.
because of the song. Is that
Because of
something
the
like-
song.
Yeah.
No, I don't know what the
Isn't
reasons were.
there was a
There's
religious thing,
yeah.
isn't there, with the Epiphany?
We're looking at you, Nat. Yes.
Because isn't it like the Epiphany's the 12
days after.
Yeah, so you take it down on the 6th was the Epiphany.
Yeah.
But the putting up,
But before, not so much.
sure.
I've got a friend, Gemma, shout out Gemma,
Gemma that we know.
Gemma that we know.
Yeah.
She,
We've all got a friend Gemma.
yeah, we've all got a friend, Gemma, yeah. She gets so upset about Christmas decorations outside of December. So when they're up before December, it's a problem. In January, oh no, it's a problem. It is so hilarious. Sorry for her distress, finding it hilarious, but I find it so entertaining how stressed out she gets.
I agree with that to an extent. I
Yeah.
think you can go a couple of days into January, like past the 7th, 8th. Maybe you're busy, that's why you can't take it down. But if I'm seeing Christmas decorations on November 15th and then I'm seeing them on January 27th, I'm like, nah, there's something.
Do you know what a smacker for me is? When you go into the shops in August and they're selling Christmas
Yeah.
decorations. What are you doing?
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
are you doing?
Yeah.
Well, and we say it every year, it's getting earlier and earlier. But there is a reality, and I think we've spoken about it before, of like when there's a lot of darkness happening, I think people seek the joy. And I think for some
Yeah.
people that is a kind of like, let's start thinking about Christmas in the summer, but it is quite scary. So you know what I saw the other day, which was a new sight to behold?
Reindeer.
So you know, like some people hook up to the national grid, they go all out, like full display, like Santa on the roof, like, and people come and see, and some people do it for charity, some people just do it for shits and giggles.
Yeah.
What I saw and I've never seen was someone had a full nativity scene.
I've seen that.
Life size. No, I've never seen anything like this. In their garden, Angel Gabriel, the lot. And I was like, wow. Like, I've just never seen it. Like, I was like, that
I
is
don't
impressive.
think I've seen a whole
Maybe not
nativity.
full life size, but I definitely have seen a few nativities.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
I was
around.
like, this is a new sight.
to
It's quite a
behold.
nice segue.
It is a
Do you want to
nice
sing a
segue.
Christmas carol before we segue to?
I mean,
I'm good.
Yeah.
Light the Advent candle one.
What is this?
While the waiting has begun.
This is...
That-
We
Have you
started-
written
This
this
is my
yourself?
day. My
was
days
this
of going
was
to
this a GCSE music
church. Sarah,
entry?
do you know that one?
No,
Nobody
It
does.
sounds so
It's
morbid.
it's my
like,
days. In my days of
That's
growing
just
up in a
Eugene
Roman
before a
Catholic
coffee.
church. Okay, do the segue.
I've never heard that.
That
There's
sounds-
It's about the Advent candle. When
There's
you
some
like, you know.
absolute bangers out there, and you choose let the candle.
Maybe it's my singing that's what to do. Anyway,
Wow.
Anywho,
sorry, rude segue.
that's all right. No,
But thank you for...
Thank you. Thank
Turn
you.
your volume down.
Thank you. Yeah, I don't know how to segue it, but
Yeah.
we're gonna now talk about religion, spirituality, faith in the workplace, in our lives, and how this kind of came about was because, you know, it's Christmas. We're getting close to Christmas, so we're thinking about. For me, I'm a Christian, so Christmas is always a very kind of special time of year. But we were also kind of talking about how I feel like, what's the word? Loathed to raise Arsenal, but here we are. We're talking about
Wow,
Arsenal.
too many Arsenal. Still no. By the time this comes out, we're gonna be top of the league by like 7 points.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Edge that out if it's not
Faith.
Hey!
Good example
Hey.
of faith. But yeah, we were speaking about how there's quite a few Arsenal players who are you know, quite unashamed in their faith and kind of talking about faith and you know, sort of in their celebrations and stuff on the pitch. And you sent a couple of videos.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, because I was just saying, like, with the Arsenal players, what I sent during Timber, who is open Christian, and before every game he shares a Bible verse to about how he's kind of feeling today, and people now expecting it. And Ebericha Eze, who's scored a hat-trick against Tottenham, and because he's playing so well, there's more of a spotlight being placed on him, and he's very open with his Christianity and with his faith in his celebrations, in the way he speaks. So what I've noticed in the press conference is that people are now asking questions about it more, so it's bringing it more to the forefront. So that was one of the reasons.
Yeah, and I'm obviously, as a Christian, I'm here for it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, really, really enjoy. I was joking about loathing bringing up
I know
Arsenal.
you are. I know you are.
Yeah, I quite like Arsenal, but anyway. Sorry, Robbie. But yeah, so we were just going to have a kind of conversation today about faith, about religion, about spirituality, what they mean, what your kind of relationship is to it, and just to have a bit of a discussion, really.
Yeah.
So I think, you know, the first thing I suppose to kind of start with is maybe some sort of definitions, or what do people understand, or you know, what meaning do they give to those words? So let's start firstly with like religion, and for me, religion is like the organized kind of formalized structures that like kind of involves like, you know, values, beliefs, symbols, like rituals and things, but kind of organized in like a formalized way. So things like Judaism, Christianity, Islam, those are like, that's what I understand as religion, and certain practices that you follow as a result of that. Yeah, so that's I suppose religion from my perspective. But then there's, you know, the attached, I suppose, spirituality and faith as well. And often I think religion and spirituality, they kind of get, you know, conflated. But for me, they are quite distinct. And religion is, you know, as I've described. But for me, spirituality is much more about sort of the relationship that we have, like either with each other, with our kind of ancestors, with a higher power. Like it's more about relationship for me. So that's how I kind of think about the kind of difference, where you can be kind of spiritual maybe and religious at the same time, but kind of sit maybe you straddle both, but maybe sit more in one as well. So yeah, that's what I'd say. But what's your kind of understanding of, let's say, spirituality? How would you kind of define that?
You gave the perfect definition of both. So I guess I don't really have much to add, but I suppose bringing my own spirituality in, I suppose, just building on what you said, just I guess like almost like a set of values and beliefs around how I sort of live my life. And I like that distinction you made about kind of relationship. But I think it's both and for me. I guess it's like how I, what I subscribe to and how I want to lead my life. But yeah, in relationship to others. And I think in terms of the religion, spirituality, I think I've said before on the podcast, I was raised Catholic. So very much born with a religion and kind of indoctrinated into the church through the Holy Communion and confirmation. And because I'm the youngest of four, like they all started dropping the religion one by one, and I was like the last one standing. And the Catholic guilt was deep. I got to adolescence and I was like, oh, I don't want to go to church anymore, because we went every Sunday. Like that was non-negotiable, all bundled in the back of the car. And then I think, adolescence, you start questioning stuff. I was just a bit like, oh no, this isn't for me. And then, I guess as I've got older in terms of my sexual orientation and being queer, and just there are lots of things with the Catholic Church as an organised religion that I personally have had issue with, which I think then saw me sort of move away from organised religion into more spirituality. So I think I agree, like the two can coexist or be independent. And I think thinking about my own relationship with that aspect of that identity, I'd say it would be more a set of kind of spiritual sort of beliefs that I have as well, I'd say.
Yeah, I think I similar upbringing to you when you was talking about being like that journey through adolescence of like, oh no, I don't want to go. I was like, that was me.
Although I fancied the altar boy, so that was a reason to go. Like, oh, he's dead fit. So that was a reason to go.
But yeah, I would agree. Like your definitions, and when you've spoken about it in the past, I think that it's allowed me to connect more with where I place myself with regards to religion and spirituality. And I think as I'm growing older, I'm connecting more with my spirituality, more with my faith, more with my religion, in a way that, because I think when I was younger, my mentality was that religion was almost like do's and don'ts. I think that's how I interpreted what was around me. So like, oh, I want to be a good person, so I can't do this or can't do that. And I think that's probably what made me kind of question a lot. But then as I've grown older, it's almost like it for me is about who you are as a person, your relationship with a higher power, relationship with people, whilst not compromising aspects of your identity or who you are as a person. So the notion of spirituality, I think, gives me more. It opened my eyes up. I think when I was younger, I didn't really understand what spirituality was. I don't think that term was regularly used.
I think I thought it was just getting some joss sticks out and
Joss
waving them around.
Yeah,
What's that?
Like,
is it in the crystal family?
Yeah, sort of that.
okay.
You know what I mean? Yeah, kind of joss sticks, crystal.
I've never heard of a joss stick.
Like an incense stick.
Oh, okay. I heard of incense sticks. Okay.
But yeah, I think that was I didn't really know the term when I was younger, and I think if I was introduced to the term, I think I would have been able to identify where I sit more. And I think that's one of the reasons why I think it's such a helpful episode to discuss, because I think the education around aspects of identity, I think is limited in society. Like I grew up and in a Roman Catholic school, and we were taught with our religious education only one book in the Bible. So I wasn't educated about the whole Bible. I wasn't educated about Christianity in total. I wasn't educated about Islam, Judaism, other religions.
Oh,
No, I wasn't. So and it's just making me think about the importance of people being educated, because of how much an individual's spirituality or religion informs how they show up at work, for example, or how they show up in relationships, how they show up in life. And I think we're in a place where people are fearful of talking about it because they may be saying the wrong things, or they have the basic kind of like right-wing media idea of what religion is, for example. And I'm thinking about like the demonizations of particular religions, the demonizations of Muslims, for example, with an incorrect narrative. So I think it's so important to have this conversation for me.
You said something really interesting. I was like, oh yeah, that's a really interesting point of like what happens when you have the language for something, like how it then really kind of helps you understand or make sense of your experiences, or kind of what you were saying about if you would have had the word spirituality, how that might have impacted you more helpfully, like when you were kind of growing up. But just having that language means that you're able to kind of make sense of things. So linked to your point about knowledge, and people having so much power when there is knowledge shared.
That's so important, actually, isn't it? And thinking about how often things are put on the kind of binary. I'm religious or I'm not, or I'm this or I'm that. And even religions put against each other.
Yeah.
And I think actually, as you said, having that language can be so helpful, because I think for me, it was not always a positive experience or understanding of the religion that I was brought up in that then made me view, make a generalization and sort of view Catholicism in particular like negatively. And actually over the years I think I've had to have that self-awareness of like being more curious about my own relationship and how that's influenced my view of religion, but then also to then go, I guess, full 360 to understanding that I guess reflexively that's my experience, but actually not everybody's, and the importance that religion and spirituality as an identity is for people. So I've definitely gone on my own journey of like rejection, like hard no, through to like actually that's my stuff, and then how can I be more curious, because it is so important. And I think particularly as you said in work, I think people maybe I guess back to us kind of talking about this was thinking about how we've seen it, people in mainstream kind of media and mainstream spaces and in football, etc., really being open about it. And actually before that would have been a bit more kind of almost keep that at home or hidden or looked upon, kind of actually, what's that about? Whereas we're seeing it much more, which is so important for acceptance. And then the more you see that, the more it's like, that's their religion, that's theirs. How can we be more inclusive? Because we were talking about with Mo Salah, weren't we, at kind of Liverpool, and for those who kind of are fasting in Ramadan, there is flexibility made. But actually how flexible are workplaces and spaces for people of different kind of religious denominations?
That's
not
where,
always.
And that's where belonging is important, because I feel that, so my understanding of Islam increased when I was a social worker and I was working in a community where there was a high number of Muslim people. In my work context, but also the children and families that we worked with. So my knowledge, my need to upskill myself and increase my knowledge meant that I had an understanding or a better understanding than I had before of Islam as a religion, but also how it reflects in the way people practice and the way people live their lives. And when I'm thinking about the workplace context, it was adapted and amended in a way for people to feel like they belong, but it's not there in a lot of offices. It's not there in a lot of spaces. Like they had prayer rooms for all faiths in the building I worked with. Probably one of the only buildings, or one of few buildings that I've seen that. And in corporate spaces or in different offices, are people conscious about creating such space for people of all religions to practice. No, and also because I think what happens is that we're being organised by significant moments. So we mentioned it's Christmas, that's what's got us to think about it, and this is a celebration for Christians this time of year. But what does the practicing of Christianity look like to individuals throughout the year, and how can a workplace be positioned or organised so that that individual gets to be able to practice throughout the year, and same with all other different religions. And I don't know the answers because I don't run a workplace. I wonder how accommodating organisations are in creating a space where people can feel like they can bring all of themselves, because it ultimately will increase belonging. But even if you don't have the answers and I don't have the answers, how can a conversation about how someone's religion, spirituality, faith, how it influences how they show up, how can that be had?
Yeah, definitely. I was thinking at one point a lot about kind of my religion, spirituality, faith, and my work context. a few years ago, and I did that was basically the subject of my dissertation when I was doing my family systemic psychotherapy masters, of how do social workers use their religion and spirituality in their work. And in preparation for this podcast, I just went back over and read a little bit. It was quite a traumatic time when I was writing it.
Sorry for making you go back there.
Yeah.
But actually, it was so interesting to go back and read it. And I wrote it. I interviewed the participants 2019, but then I wrote and did the analysis in 2020 in COVID. So just after George Floyd had been murdered, and it was so interesting. One of the themes that came up in the analysis was the intersection of religion and race. And in kind of the reflections or the analysis, I was kind of wondering, would I have felt so permissioned or able to kind of bring that up as a theme if it wasn't in the context in which I was writing it, was one thing. But the other thing that came up is, kind of social workers, or the social workers that I interviewed. Another theme that came up is that it's something that it was back then kind of kept sort of away in a similar way to what I do. I wouldn't necessarily bring it in my work or kind of name it with families so comfortably. I guess it's not that we never spoke about religion or spirituality, but how I kind of used it didn't feel like I was able to or was permission to. And so, some of the research, reading back on it, I was like, oh, okay, it was so interesting to kind of reflect on why that is. And just similar to what you were saying, of actually, if we're, thinking about religion, spirituality, we're talking about people's belief systems, their values, and that influences how they show up in work, how they show up in their day-to-day, how they make sense of relationships, like with their colleagues and things. So why don't we give it more thought, and why don't we give it more attention? Because it really is such an organizing principle of how people do life.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes it's like, if people feel like they're not sure or they don't want to go there, then the conversation doesn't happen at all. And particularly in the context when we were all kind of practicing social workers, or when I was, maybe it was something that I thought about less, because I was like, I don't kind of identify as having a religion. Like what conversations was, may I have been missing? Because I think there is that, isn't there? If you're curious about somebody. I remember when I was supervising someone who was doing a similar sort of dissertation topic of like the significance of people's religion and spirituality, and through asking those questions opened up a whole community that this person had that they didn't know about. So they were maybe working with this family, and then they were like, oh yeah, I'm part of this church community in this instance, and then that was like a whole like extra piece of information as part of their identity. So I think it's that thing, isn't it, that what happens when people don't ask the questions. But it is interesting, I suppose, in terms of as you said, like it's how we can't really separate them out, because it is so much part of people's values and belief systems. But then I suppose it's that kind of part of the kind of conversation that can come up is, what if those values and belief systems are at odds with different people's, and that's a kind of, I think, where maybe then the conversations don't happen, because it's that juncture of kind of difference, and how do we navigate that?
Yeah, and that was when I was listening to you speak, and then just off the back of what you've just said, Fran, is the word judgment came up for me as something that is an obstacle or barrier for people talking about openly about people's experience of religion or spirituality, because there's judgment, there's fear of judgment. So I come across a number of people who are Christian, but the way they were raised as a Christian is different to the way I was raised as a Christian. I've come across a number of people who are Muslim, but all of them are different in the way that they act and practice, in the way that they view the world. Similar with my Jewish friends as well. So that idea of like the religion or spirituality being something that organizes somebody, but how one navigates that is each to their own. And the only way that we can really kind of make it a topic that we can talk about more comfortably is asking the question and talking about what does your spirituality or your religion how does your spirituality and religion impact how you show up in the workplace, or impact the lens in which you view the world? Because I think now we're seeing a lot of it is can be divisive in the way that people talk about it, and I think that carries pace, because people who are out there not wanting to divide are just still not comfortable having those conversations. And if we were, I think there may be less division, because we all have a better collective understanding of different people's relationship with religion and spirituality.
Yeah. And how do we move to being okay with those differences as well? Because as the quote says, there's more that unites us than divides us. And I think sometimes, like, when people don't have those conversations, that division stays. Again, I remember working with a social work student on a master's, and she was Jewish, working with a Palestinian family, and the Palestinian family that she was working with were kind of talking about it, and her religion was so part of her as well, and it was sort of felt hidden. So she made a decision to have a conversation about that, once the relationship was built, and to kind of go in with that kind of open understanding. And there were differences, but actually the power of that conversation of, like, actually we've got this relationship, let's explore this, was massive. And I don't want to oversimplify the complexity of differences across religion, spirituality and beliefs, but that was an example of kind of entering into a conversation around kind of some of those differences in this instance, and on a kind of micro level, and actually feeling that the aspects of this person's identity weren't hidden, and they could talk about it and move forward in a way that kind of worked for them. So yeah, that was a kind of powerful conversation, instead of having a conversation with people that might be different to you.
And I think it's such a good example of, like, sitting in complexity, and while you're speaking, I was thinking about, what happens if you just kind of sit and talk and, see, why do you think about it like that? Why do I think about it like that? And not taking a position of trying to convince the other that your way is the right way.
Yeah.
Like, the power of just being able to, hold that curious position and just have a conversation is powerful. There's something really meaningful that can come out of that, if you're not trying to kind of convince the other that your way is the right way, or the way that they should be thinking. So yeah, I think sitting in complexity feels uncomfortable and icky and rah, but things come from that. Understanding comes from that. Connection can come from that. Okay, thanks team, and thank you for just as somebody who, is, I was going to say quite religious. I don't know if I'd connect with that, but who is, like, religious and spiritual, I'd say.
Openly.
Openly. Yeah. I think you both, like, create such an inclusive environment for me to be able to kind of practice and not, feel like, oh, let me just, hide that. I'm always, like, quoting Bible verses and stuff and think, oh, how's this going to land? And you guys are so, like, helpful. I love it. And, like,
But also, and we've said it off air, like, spending time with you and seeing how you openly practice with intention, I think has moved me forward on my journey. Because, like I said, before raised Roman Catholic, I consider myself a Christian, but my journey with Christianity has gone up and down, and it's been different. And spirituality is more something that I feel connected with because of my kind of struggle with organised religion. So I think being around you and seeing how you practice is an example, I think, of how I would want to be as well.
Same for me. I think I've moved from auntie to uncle now. No, but like I said, I think I was probably, like, more stronger on a view, and then seeing someone, and your faith is so beautiful, like it's like infectious. I'm like, and actually it's been a learning on my own journey of, like, openness and acceptance, because when you will do a prayer, I'm in it with you. I'm not just doing it for you. Of course I'm doing it for you, but what I mean is, it's like, is it really such a hard thing for me to be in you with your faith? Like that is a kind of real connection for me. And I think that's an example of kind of that openness and curiosity on my own journey, from knowing you for like nearly a decade, I think it's definitely shifted from like, that's not for me, to like, amen. But like seriously, so I think there is that. And I guess thinking about, I'm going to take the takeaway. So yeah, so I think it is that.
Thank you.
But just on the back of that, I think that's a great example of how you can, when you love somebody, you want to connect with all of who they are, and it doesn't mean like just listening to what organizes somebody. And in your situation, religion is a significant organizing principle. Like without understanding what that means to you or how that organizes your life, we don't know you as well. And imagine you coming to this space and saying and feeling restricted in a way to, and then it means that you can't be your full self. So when you think about this is our work context, being able to bring in all of who you are means that you perform at your best. That's why for you two, I really appreciate that you constantly encourage me to sing on an ongoing basis, because that allows me to be my best. And, tough
But
day.
also like the stuff that you bring from the Bible or kind of religious text is just a lovely way of how to kind of live, or how you choose, or how one could live their life in terms of kind of values and ethics. I'm just like, I saw this thing on Instagram, some nonsense, and you're like, well, actually, and I'm like, okay, that's better. So I'm but yeah. So I think for me, I think it's seeing you and your faith. It's like a lovely kind of guide or compass for how you live your life, and some of the kind of guidance that comes from that is super helpful. So I need to move beyond some Instagram person to like actually listening to Nadie G. But no, so I think that's definitely been I guess moving into a takeaway, like one of the things for me is that kind of I guess an invitation for people to reflect on their own relationship with religion and think about, a lot of what we're talking about is that kind of curiosity today. And I think my own journey has been moving away from perhaps being fixed in my view to like curious of that difference and kind of accepting, because it is so much part of people's identity that it's, important that we are open to kind of exploring that.
Yeah, I think that's a really helpful takeaway. And I think I'll build on that and say take that personal reflection into an interpersonal context. So where you feel, and I think safety is important, because I think we're talking about an idealistic world and where we want people to move into, but still people may not feel safe talking about aspects of their identity. Today we talk about religion, but people may not be safe talking about the invisible aspects of their religion because of the society and the context that they're in. So I think find that safety and take that individual reflection into an interpersonal context, whether it's with friends or with acquaintances or in the workplace. Because I think maybe in an idealistic world, I think people will be surprised about how maybe others will respond in a positive way to their relationship with their own respective religion.
Yeah, I love that. And for me, my takeaway is, we started by kind of talking about how, when people kind of are sort of comfortable and open in sharing their religion, like the impact that it has, thinking about the Arsenal footballers, and thinking back to my dissertation as well, there are times when I'd like, hide or, suppress or subjugate my kind of religion and spirituality. But the power of what can be if you are just authentic and, just sit in your religion and just, practice and live your life, how powerful it is. And also my other takeaway, and it's not just from this conversation, but it's just in life, just how you can, given all of our different aspects of identity and differences, like we all like belong, like we all feel this, sense of belonging in this little family here. And so that, you can love and belong and be in regardless of all the differences that you come with and you bring. So it's very hopeful.
Christmas Carol?
Go on, which one?
No, let's wrap it up.
Candle.
That is gonna make you cry.
What's your favourite? It's Carol. What's your favourite?
No, I've got so many.
It's chimney. Is that Christmas?
No, it's just like
it's a Mary Poppins thing. It's so odd.
I guess you're thinking Christmas films,
Films,
and then you've gone to that.
What, like Die Hard?
Well, yeah, that as well.
We have been three social workers talking about social matters. You can find us on YouTube, the Social Matters Podcast. You can also find us on Instagram at Matters Podcast. We're also on LinkedIn, Social Matters. So do check us out. Do follow us on those social media platforms. And if you enjoyed this conversation, do share it. And we hope that you have a very blessed Merry Christmas.
Bye.
Bye.